Nigeria's political future has entered another major debate after a pro-Biafra organization made a controversial call for the country to be divided into 6 independent republics. The Biafran Independence Movement and Movement for the Actualization of Sovereign States of Biafra, known as BIM-MASOB, has appealed to the United Nations to support what he described as a peaceful restructuring of Nigeria ahead of the 81st United Nations General Assembly. The group argues that Nigeria's current political structure has failed to deliver the unity, security, and development expected after the 1914 amalgamation of northern and southern Nigeria. But the demand has immediately raised difficult questions about Nigeria's future, constitutional order, and the possibility of changing the structure of Africa's most populous country. Could Nigeria really be divided into 6 republics? Would such a move solve the country's challenges or create new problems? And how realistic is this proposal on the international stage? According to BIM-MASOB, the foundation of Nigeria's current challenges can be traced back more than a century to the decision by the British colonial administration to merge the northern and southern protectorates in 1914. The group says the amalgamation brought together regions with different histories, cultures, and political interests without creating a system that adequately addressed their differences. In a statement issued on Thursday and signed by Mazi Chris Moka, Director of Information and Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity to BIM, the organization described the amalgamation as unsuccessful. The group argued that after more than 100 years, Nigeria continues to struggle with insecurity, poverty, political tensions, and underdevelopment. BIM-MASOB said the forthcoming United Nations General Assembly, scheduled for September 14 to 28, 2026, provides an opportunity for the international community to consider what it called a peaceful solution to Nigeria's long-standing challenges. The organization called on the United Nations to support the creation of 6 independent republics based on Nigeria's existing geopolitical zones. Under the proposal, the Southeast, Southwest, South-South, North Central, Northeast, and Northwest regions could become separate republics. The group believes this arrangement will allow each region to manage its own affairs, control its resources, and develop according to its priorities. BIM-MASOB argued that granting independence to the 6 geopolitical zones will also address the insecurity by creating smaller political units with greater responsibility for security and governance. The organization stated that the interests and properties of citizens across the proposed republics will remain protected under international law. It also suggested that future relationship between the new republics could be managed through bilateral agreements covering areas such as trade, movement, and cooperation. However, the proposal represents a significant challenge to Nigeria's current constitutional framework. Nigeria's constitution recognizes the country as one sovereign nation, and there is currently no legal process allowing geopolitical zones to automatically transform into independent countries. Any move towards separation will require major political negotiations, constitutional changes, and possibly international recognition. The demand also comes decades after Nigeria's most serious attempt at separation. In 1967, the Eastern region declared independence as the Republic of Biafra, triggering a brutal civil war between the Nigerian government and Biafran forces. The conflict lasted for nearly 3 years and resulted in massive loss of lives, humanitarian suffering, and deep political scars that remain part of Nigeria's national history. Since the end of the civil war in 1970, different groups have continued to raise concerns about regional inequality, political representation, and resource control. BIM-MASOB, founded by Chief Raphael Wazirike, has been one of the organizations advocating for the creation of a Biafra state. Unlike some other separatist movements, BIM-MASOB has repeatedly stated that it supports a peaceful approach to achieving self-determination. The latest statement reflects a broader debate taking place across Nigeria about whether the country's current structure is capable of addressing its growing challenges. Supporters of restructuring argue that Nigeria's highly centralized system gives too much power to the federal government and limits the ability of states and regions to solve local problems. They believe greater autonomy could improve governance, security, and economic growth. Some advocates of regional restructuring argue that states should have more control over natural resources and greater authority over areas such as policing, taxation, and development planning. However, critics of separation argue that dividing Nigeria could create serious economic and political difficulties. They point to the importance of Nigeria's large internal markets, international influence, and shared infrastructure. Some also warn that creating multiple independent countries could produce new disputes over borders, resources, and citizenship rights. Beyond domestic debates, gaining international recognition for new countries is a complex process. The United Nations generally does not create new states simply because groups demand independence. Recognition usually depends on political negotiations, legal considerations, and acceptance by the international community. The Nigerian government has not indicated support for Bim Massob's proposal. For many political leaders, the focus remains on strengthening national unity while addressing challenges through reforms within the existing federation. But the group insists that Nigeria's current structure has reached its limits. Bim Massob says its appeal is not a call for conflict but a demand for what he described as a peaceful political resolution to Nigeria's problem. The organization believes that allowing the 6 geopolitical zones to become independent republics will bring stability and allow each region to determine its own future. As Nigeria approaches another period of political discussions and reforms, questions about restructuring, autonomy, and national unity are expected to remain central. The debate is no longer only about political boundaries. It is about how a country of more than 200 million people can create a system that delivers security, opportunity, and effective governance for all citizens. Whether Nigeria's future lies in stronger regional autonomy, deeper reforms within the current federation, or a completely different political arrangement remains one of the biggest questions facing the nation. What do you think? Should Nigeria remain one country with major reforms, or should the 6 geopolitical zones become independent republics? Share your views in the comments below. I'm Chidera Isom. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next reports.